March, thank you, March 25th with chapter 2. And now we are moving with our book, Smile at Fear, into week 3.
All right.
And this week, somebody's on, unmuted, maybe still. Just make sure. Thank you. I'm going to see if I can climb on now. But so in week 1, we were really just re-engaging the breath, right? Just finding the breath, seeing if we couldn't enjoy the breath, staying in contact with the breath, finding it again and again. And we know that this is a beautiful, essential base practice, right? Available every moment that you're breathing, that you're alive. Who knows what might be available beyond or before? We don't try to answer those questions here. And so the focus of Chogyam's book, Smile at Fear, then the focus of all Buddhist teachings truly is how do you live this life? And how do you live this life, not with the small view of me just getting what I like or what I want or what I prefer in this life, though we are not necessarily exempt from that either. That's a mistaken understanding in Buddhism, but that we understand that whatever we're moving towards, whatever we're setting intention or aspiration to, that we do so with what we call the long or large view, right? Long or large view, not just because I like chocolate cake right now. And maybe given the conditions, the circumstances, and the realities of the present moment, that chocolate cake may be everything. It may be very wise. It may be very skillful. It may be essential to the survival or well-being of another. And so we never, in this tradition, condemn the object, do we? Because the object is never, and people get mixed up all like, what about that? Well, it's not the point. The point is, what are you doing with that? How are you holding, working with, being with, bearing witness the reality of that? Called that other guy for several people, right? And if you're then legitimizing hatred, ill will, greed, we are, right, we're in the soup of human suffering with everyone else. And then how do we live is the whole point of these teachings. And what the teachings then also say is that wherever we go from here that cannot be known or named, by the way, the Buddha did not answer the question, how many lives do you have? How many, right? He said every moment, new life. And then that can get understood as past lives, future lives. Well, guess what? Everything we've done up till now is a past life, isn't it? Every moment we have lived. How many of those? I have no idea. I just know yesterday, the day before, and the day before that, in some way, can then inform, influence, and grow, heal, right? How I am today. Except then what? We have to call it all to mind. You can't just hope for the impact. Like I lived, yes, so now we hope that it goes well. We have to, with intention, on purpose, and this is what the neuroscience says is true, call up the wisdom, call up reflective awareness. You can't just go, well, I lived it, you hope for the best. And no, you have to, with intent, reflect. You have to, with intent, then go back and say, what happened there? Right? Really, what happened? Since my intention was for love. My intention was for kindness. My intention was for ease. My intention was to be a contribution. What happened in that moment where it got jangly? What happened there? Was it me? Was it the other? How did I get caught in that? How did I free myself? Right? This is the continuing inquiry of this life and this human uh, opportunity, right? So lucky that we get to be, spirits incarnated to like grow, heal, learn, teach, be. So we're very, very blessed on a rainy day and on a sunny day. When Trump's in office and when he's not. What an opportunity to impact, influence one's own life. And then, right, what we know is ultimately the whole of the world, one breath, one kindness, one at a time. That's it. That's it. I've had a lot of people saying to me, well, I just can't get to the practices. Maybe this isn't for me because, well, no, we just today, right? We commit today. And so I want everybody to recognize that if this were about being perfect, none of us would be here. Would we? Not one of us could possibly be here. And that includes me, and maybe exceptionally me. Right? Why? I'm just about smart enough to see the infinite ways I mess it up. Now, I don't feel bad about that. I feel grateful. And I really mean it because then I can say that could be the end of that. I don't have to continue that. I can recognize that that matter of factness was experienced as an aggression. Okay, then let's see if we can't adjust that in some way to impact who? Well, everyone. Isn't it true? Everyone. Because if I'm talking with my partner in a way that he can experience as loving, he is very much more likely to talk to that guy at Home Depot in a way that is kind, who's more likely to then talk to the next customer, who's then right? This is the infinite interconnected, right? Don't we say it's one of the essential truths? Interconnected realities of this existence. I won't say human because we're all holy, right? Every tree, every plant, every bush, every dog, interconnected. So we started with the breath, then we moved to what? Name and describe. Everybody recollecting name and describe. If you haven't been here, you may have less of a connect to it. And then I want to just review for a moment why. Does anybody know why that's such an important practice? I'm going to try to get on Zoom while you guys are coming on or writing in Zoom to answer. And Carrie, if you could read those for me while I'm trying to get on, that would be great. Why are we bothering with this kind of wordy, conceptual, object naming? Why are we doing it? If you're doing it, you might have a sense about it. If you're not doing it, you won't.
Renee says to be used during times of anxiety.
To be used during times of anxiety. Yes, particular reactivities. It would be an opportunity to kind of unhook from the thought stream that's so binding, right? Has us so caught up and actually get us back into at least our bodies, at least maybe back into the room we're in, at least back into the eye door or the ear door, which is a great beginning, right? So the movement away from all of the narrative in the object world back to experiencing in the sense door world, turning towards the body and the mind that knows it. So that would be one reason. To come back to my home, I think it said, went quick. To know stillness, yes. Because eventually
claim it.
we what?
Janine says to claim it, then let it go.
Yeah, to recognize, right? Objects as objects. Some I like, some I don't like, some are blue, some are purple, some are green, some are short. Don't we do this with the breath? That's the whole point of the breath awareness practice is really just go object with me Imputing is a word that's often used in Buddhism. Imputing what? Perceptions, volitions. I like it, I don't like it, I want it, I don't want, grasping, rejecting, because really with a neutral object, which we don't start with necessarily in name and describe, what do we learn? Everything about the mind. Everything. Why? The breath is pretty neutral generally, if you're breathing okay. And I understand it's not so neutral when you're struggling, right? And then it may not, in fact, be, as we have been practicing name and describe, we would know maybe not the best object, maybe not the best start, maybe not even the body. Remember, as a place to begin, particularly in moments of reactivity, said Renee. Maybe not the best place to hang out with a heartbeat at one, right, 110, with the heart rate pressure, with the eyes dilated, with the nerve endings sharp, right. May not be best to start there because we're already possibly hooked, aren't we? We're already possibly in the narrative in a way that we can't see clearly. Then we cannot see clearly then what's truly here, and then even more what's us versus what's it. This is horrible.
Yeah, I think the external helps you start to do the internal. It's a little easier to do the external with the labeling and then ease into the labeling than internally.
Okay, so did you may not have heard. Libby says starting in the external for her makes it a little easier to come back to the internal because we become witness.
Right.
Isn't that right?
Just label.
We're just bearing witness with the object. The object we pick is usually not offensive, so we don't come with a lot of activation storyline for that. That's useful. And then what? We can now turn that neutral, that witness, that silence, Dennis said, that non-reactivity towards one's own experience. This is why this is so helpful. Right? It's so helpful. Usually when we just sit down, particularly unless we have a very strong and long practice, it takes some amount of minutes to sort out this thinking mind from the awareness mind, or what we called on the weekend, wakeful awareness. Simply, without bias, without pattern, without prejudice, without conditioning, just seeing as seeing, hearing as hearing. Right. And then to further that practice, we move from name and describe to resting in, but not floating off. It's not the practice. Resting in precise awareness of the out breath. We're going to do it again today. The out breath. Why the out breath? Not the in breath. Chogyam says, do kind of what you want on the in breath. It's not a problem for me. You might just use it to gather energy.
Because that's where the releasing or opening can be done, or is easier, I guess.
Libby says that's because that's where the releasing and the opening is. I think I see from Courtney. Can you read these for me, Carrie? I think I saw letting go, creating.
It's letting go.
What's the other one?
The gap is revealing.
The gap
And
reveals itself there. Yes.
It's a pause.
Janine says it's a pause. Yes, a pause that actually we want to make our lives. Right, that pause, we want to be resting permanently there. Dia said something else like it's the last thing you'll ever do. From birth to death, cradle to grave, they say. The one thing you will have that you can then use in a way that is constant, available, non-denominational, inexpensive. I mean, technically, there it is. Doesn't require special shoes. right? Right there all the time. How amazing is this? And so what better object than what we're always carrying for an entire lifetime, and then we don't know. So we know. So resting in the out breath, I'm going to offer the instruction again. I've got something from Leslie. Exhale can connect to the oneness. Some people won't know. Yes, that is absolutely true. Some people don't know what oneness is beyond this, but this is it. Actually, Leslie is right. Oneness is anything you're connecting to is a part of the whole. And so, though we don't often get a sense of that oneness because we're often separated, this is an opportunity to make contact with that, says Leslie, once again, when we'll just in the gap at the end of the out breath. We use the out breath then not as really an object. I want to be careful. We want to make contact with it. We want to stay in the direct experience of it, but we don't want to hang on. And one of the habits in breath awareness practice, particularly when you've come from a Vipassana tradition like I have, is to hold the breath in some way or meter the breath to its end. And we really want light touch, which is why this practice, Pema calls it light touch. Chogyam calls it touch and go. And you saw that in the chapter, right? Touch and go. Light touch, but in contact, not squeezing down on the object, not mistaking the reality of this object as fixed or solid in any way. It's a little habit to go out breath, I'm still on the out breath, really with a little space or room. And so often when I have seen it instructed, particularly by the Tibetan lamas, they want you to create a little space in which the out breath is experienced, which means I said it, I think last week, a little beyond the body. Does everybody get this idea? Not tight into the body, our habit in Vipassana, right? Squeezing into the body to make contact with the breath, but really experiencing the breath in a larger container than the body itself. Does anybody know what I mean when I say that? You know what I mean? Holding space, not in the tight esophageal line, not in the vagal. We tend to get wrapped up in there a little bit to feel like we're capturing body sensations. This is not that. And it's a habit because we've been trained for this, or many of us, Vipassana. Courtney, do you know what I mean by this?
You already said it, Di, the gap.
Yeah. You're really, thank you. The truth is you're beginning the contact with the gap at the beginning of the out breath. You're just using the out breath as a guardrail, right? More than you are as the object. Can you get this idea? Because I do know we will get in just out breath practice. What can happen for people is a kind of sloth, drowsy, slightly right, like dreamy. Might be a word. It is, we know in the research, inviting the parasympathetic nervous system. Well, this is not that. It doesn't mean you couldn't use the out breath in that way. But Chogyam's not meaning this. He's saying we're using the out breath as the doorway, as the gateway to vast, open, infinite, empty, luminous space. It's an expansive release, buoyant. Yes. Oh, I love those words, Janine. Yes. Can you, right from the beginning of the out breath, right? So we're going to work a little more on that this week because I am getting this focus on the out breath now was not really, it's just a tool to that open, empty, vast, luminous space. See, I want us to be careful because I can feel us gripping a little bit. Whenever we do that, remember what the outcome is? whenever we're gripping, what is always going to be the outcome of that action of body, mind?
Suffering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Guaranteed. Thank you, Courtney and Carrie. Or sloth, which is a version of suffering, by the way, just so you know. That's understood to be a hindrance and a condition of suffering. Even though everybody really likes it. Like, this is dreamy. This is good. I'll take this over reactivity any day. Right? And you go, this is where I want to hang out. No, actually, you don't. No, actually, you do not. Why? You will not see the nature of reality towards the end of suffering. No, you don't. You will be dreamy or dreamlike until the train hits you. Right? And by the way, the teaching says, and it's guaranteed to hit you because you're not looking, you're just floating around. Right? So watch this, because there are traditions that go, bliss is it, dreamy is it, spaced out is it, this life is hard. This is not the tradition. This one says, no, let's be totally present, bring all our resources and all our marbles to the moment, because this can be the greatest contribution and the greatest contribution to the end of suffering. Even when it's hard. I know, right? Even when it's hard. And then
Especially
people-
when it's hard.
Thank you. Thank you. That is the truth, isn't it? Especially when it's hard. And we mistake it, don't we? And how many people have said to me, do you think I'd be practicing, but life's too hard right now? How many? Everybody, literally everybody, including me. It's just too hard. I got this and this. I got my mom. I got the hip. I got the trip. I got the, right? All that stuff. I got doubt. I got, what am I doing? So I don't have time for this. Well, I don't know what you're doing, but I will say again, I'm going to encourage that 13 minutes of this practice we're now going to do, because without it, you're guaranteed. We know this for sure. We can now measure it. We watched that amygdala fire. We watched the neural circuitry shrink. We watch your brain turn into a raisin. We do. And then we go and we keep doing it. That's the part that's most amazing, over and over. Well, we're not going to keep doing it. We're committed, aren't we? Together with the support of each other to this practice and this process. And so we're going to do it again and begin now. It is stressful for sure. Life is stressful. Life is stressful. There's no doubt about it. Uh, uh, and the truth is, why is it stressful, Robin? Why is life stressful?
We feel like we've done the wrong thing or taken the wrong path, or
We bought in to the storyline called Not Like This. That's why we bought it. We jumped right in. Hook, line, and sinker, as they say, to it shouldn't be like this. This shouldn't be happening to me. I should have done it different. If only I woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? Or why did they? We can go in the other direction. This is just as, right? And the reality is, yes, Dennis says, constant wave of experience. Not just experience though, constant wave of you. You are not, Robin, who you were yesterday. So who are you judging? Really? Who's that? They're gone, actually, truthfully, do not exist. There's only this constellation appearing now, and what? Beginning again, part of its beauty, and then beginning again. a part of its beauty. That's why we focus on the out breath. We continue to let go of these solid, fixed, identified, reified ideas, not just about other, but more primarily about oneself. The I that fucked it all up. Who are they? Exactly. Where did you find them? Only in memory. Only, and by the way, your pixelated memory sucks. You aren't even close to accurate about what you thought you saw, experienced, and knew. You are nowhere close to the reality. And I mean everything from the sock scientists down to the guy who works in the bowling alley. No difference. So it isn't about smarts. There is no difference. The tendency to reify, identify, claim the moment as one's own. And how arrogant, wouldn't it be? Like, what? You're the maker of all moments? You're the well, no, a confluence, the constant wave, somebody said, of this. That was Dennis. And yes, survival pattern. I don't know how it's helping, but yeah, I guess it is. I'm just not sure how it helps. In fact, I'm pretty sure it, as we're understanding it, it contributes to our distress. Okay, so we're going to do the practices. I am going to give you some very light instruction around this. So you're preparing for sitting meditation. Remember, this is wakeful awareness, wakeful awareness. So we really do want to maybe take a moment, a little bit unlike the Dzogchen, which is to come later, where it doesn't matter how you sit, it doesn't matter how you are, because everything's open and radiant. And it's true, although we haven't made contact with that perfectly yet. So we're sitting in a way that's a little upright. And today I just feel like a little more upright's a little good. Feel into your own body, see what's there. For you, support may be more important than that sense of inner nobility or dignity, the reality that we all make contact with, this precious human life, manifest, incarnated right here in this body, however it is, just now. And then you can leave eyes open or closed. Today, my eyes are just feeling like being open right now is useful. There is no preference. You will not continue to use the eye door, but for now, just making contact with this body sitting here, which is interoceptive, and that which is all around, proprioceptive. Inclining the mind to the present moment, inner or outer. Isn't this lovely? There's no one right place, inner or and outer. And then I'd like you to call to mind the reason that you're here today. This is called setting motivation or aspiration. And I'm sitting because I know for certain that when I sit, when I make contact with my own body, my own mind, my own heart, I remember the essential connection of this to all things. There's no effort in the breath. And we are just in this toggling, inner, outer, both, which is the widest lens, right? Would include inner, outer, and both, widest aperture available. Or we could do that little toggling with a more refined aperture of awareness, which is, I should call that attention, not awareness. Oh, the breath. Oh, the plants outside. Oh, the voice. We're not going to use the languaging today for name and describe. We are just going to use contact. Shinzen Young, a really brilliant teacher up in LA, says, seeing is seeing. Hearing is hearing. And knowing is knowing. And then we're going to begin to focus the aperture on reducing the eye door, though you are always seeing. And you might even notice as you close the eyes or lower them, the sense of shade and shape or color at the back of the eyelids. We're just going to let that play in the background. And we're going to make contact with this body sitting in space. We're not going to lose the space around which the body sits. So let's not over focus. And then we're going to notice the in and out breath for just a few breaths, rising and falling in space. No gripping, no struggle. Holding open, opening the experience of the breath. And then we're going to, keeping that open space, not gripping or grabbing the body, and now not the breath, we're just going to bring attention to the experience of the whole of the out breath, beginning at the very beginning of the out breath, but watching for that non-grip. And it'll happen very quickly to the end of the out breath. And this is where the precision is. But remember, not grabbing, manipulating, controlling, directing the breath in any way. And within that large open space at the end of the out breath, having dissolved is the word that Chogyam uses. Having dissolved all ideas of solidness, all me-ing, all you-ing, all thising and thating, We simply open into the vast, what? Wave, continuing wave flow, ever-changing reality, resting in open space. And then we abide there in open space. And you get to take a little extra moment here. You can actually just abide in open space until the in-breath comes and is somewhat compelling. And then we take it as fully as we can. Remember, we're just setting intention once again here in the in-breath. The focus is not on the in-breath. We're energizing, inspiring for the commitment to the experiencing of the out-breath without gripping. What does that look like? And then can you experience the out-breath as a part of the vast open space all around? That's a little extra practice. The whole of the out-breath without grip as a part of the whole of that vast open space. It means you never really let go of that open space. We come to the end of the out-breath, the movements cease, and then we open the aperture a little bit wider, just recognizing that everything arises and passes in the reality of this vast open space and is an inherent, essential, inseparable part of it. You are, in fact, this vast open space as well. No separation. It's not me over here in the breath and open space over there. It is a part of the one, says Leslie. And remember that one is not the one me. The one is this ever-changing, waving reality of which everything is an essential part. Nothing to grab, nothing to hold on to, nothing to call me or mine. Light touch, no grip or grab. And then we let open into the vast container of our own awakened heart mind, not separate and not me. Into the gap that is, in fact, the one reality. Everywhere at all times. It's here in the in-breath, here in the spaces between the breath, here in the out-breath, always. Noticing thoughts. Thoughts too, wave-like, impermanent, not mine. A part of the vast open space. We don't have to get rid of thoughts here. Very unlike, again, a more traditional Theravadan instruction. We're just noticing thoughts arising and passing as a part of that essential wave. Thoughts or feelings, images, grocery lists, sensations, opinions, judgments, coming and going, dissolving it all with each out breath. And really, the truth is, we notice the reality of it dissolving with each out breath. We don't actually have to dissolve anything, it is already dissolved. If it stays, it's because you're grabbing it. And we rest and open and abide in that vast, open, and luminous space, remembering the quality of our own heart mind. We're not getting rid of anything with the out breath, so don't mistake it. This isn't moving objects around. We're not playing Rubik's Cube. We're simply opening to the reality of everything in its wave dissolving, just like the out breath, every moment. Thoughts about the day dissolving. Thoughts about the practice dissolving. Thoughts about the self. Thoughts about the other. Thoughts about one's life dissolving. Feelings dissolving. Identities dissolving into the greater container of this vast open space. And then when we notice that moment of grip, the moment of clinging, of grasping, the moment of contractedness, of tightness, what Chogyam calls that queasy tenderness, we can simply recognize it as it appears and disappears, as this essential part of being human. We don't have to get rid of fear, distress, reactivity, because it is not permanent. It is not fixed. It is not you. We can, with each moment and its arising objects, wake up. Wake up to this life and what we have constructed in it. This idea of self, this idea of one's life, this idea of who I am, this idea of what should be happening or not happening. And then we smile. And we simply let it be, dissolving as it will with the next out breath. Opening into, dwelling within that vast open container of heart mind. Remembering again and again who we really are. The outbreak is always available as the path, but it is not necessary always. And so when the outbreath has been let go, often that's because we're simply resting in that vastness. And this is good. It's just fine. Just know it's there to remember the reality. Everything a wave, everything impermanent, nothing fixed, solid, permanent, me or mine. Not this life, not this identity, not this circumstance, and not this thought. A wave of being. Here and gone. And may this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere, without exception. Calling to mind those for whom we practice. And include yourself. May it be so this very day. So be it.